The underestimated newcomers, the emergency session, massive chamber of the Stellar Confederation. Council hummed with tension as representatives from across the galaxy gathered in emergency session. Crystalline walls curved upward into a dome that displayed the swirling cosmos beyond, where distant stars flickered like dying embers. Floating platforms held delegates from dozens of species, each positioned according to their civilization's status and influence within the galactic community. At the far edge of the assembly, almost in the observer section, sat Ambassador Sarah Chun of Earth. Her simple black uniform stood in stark contrast to the elaborate robes, biomechanical suits, and energy fields that clothed the other representatives. She appeared unremarkable, even insignificant, among beings who had ruled the stars for millennia. Yet there was something in her calm demeanor that made the more perceptive delegates uneasy. High Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire rose from his elevated throne, his scaled hide gleaming under the chamber's artificial suns. His species had dominated 3 sectors for over 10,000 years, and his voice carried the authority of absolute power. "We gather in crisis," he declared, his words translated instantly into hundreds of languages and thought patterns. "The void swarm advances, consuming everything in its path. 3 systems have fallen completely. Billions are dead or missing." A hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, showing the affected regions. Where once proud star systems had blazed with life, now only empty darkness remained. Not even debris marked where planets had once orbited their suns. The sight sent waves of fear through the assembly, manifesting as color changes, pheromone releases, and electromagnetic fluctuations depending on each species' biology. Admiral Korth of the Hegemony, a towering figure encased in powered armor, stepped forward. His mechanical voice boomed through the chamber's acoustics. "Our combined fleets cannot match this enemy. Conventional weapons pass through them like light through vacuum. Our energy shields collapse at their touch. We need new strategies, new technologies." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Hegemony commanded the largest military force in known space, and if they admitted defeat, the situation was dire indeed. Several smaller delegations began transmitting evacuation protocols to their home systems. Council Speaker Luminara, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric framework, pulsed with urgent light. All member civilizations must contribute their most advanced technologies. We will share everything, hold nothing back. Unity is our only chance for survival. That was when Ambassador Chun raised her hand, a simple gesture that somehow cut through the chaos like a blade through silk. "Permission to address the council," she said, her voice carrying clearly despite its quiet tone. A ripple of something between amusement and irritation passed through the assembly. Vextar's eyes narrowed as he looked down at the human representative. "Earth, you wish to speak on matters of galactic defense?" His tone made clear what he thought of humanity's military capabilities. "Your species has been spacefaring for barely 30 standard years. Your technology is primitive, your military experience limited to conflicts within your own solar system." Admiral Korth's armor servos whirred as he turned toward Chun. "With respect, Ambassador, this is not a time for morale speeches or offers of token support. We face extinction. We need solutions, not goodwill gestures." Sarah Chun stood slowly, her movements deliberate and controlled. She didn't appear intimidated by the thousands of eyes, sensors, and consciousness probes focused on her. Instead, she seemed almost prepared. "Honored delegates," she began, "I understand your assessment of Earth's capabilities. We are indeed newcomers to the galactic community. We have no ancient empires, no time-tested technologies, no legendary victories to point to. Then why waste our time?" Interrupted Counselor Thizes of the Aquatic Dominion, water cascading from her biosuit as she gestured dismissively. Every moment we delay, the swarm grows stronger. Chun's expression didn't change. Because we've encountered the void swarm. Before, the chamber fell silent. Even the background hum of life support systems seemed to quiet. Vextar leaned forward on his throne. Impossible. Our deepest space monitors would have detected any incursion into Sol system. Your world would be gone. Our deepest space monitors show no such engagement, added Admiral Korth. The hegemony tracks all military actions in known space. Sarah Chun reached into her uniform and withdrew a small device, no larger than her palm. She placed it on the podium before her, and immediately the chamber's central hologram changed. New data flowed across the display, showing stellar positions, energy readings, and temporal markers that made several of the more technologically advanced species gasp in recognition. 17 years ago, Chan said calmly, a Void Swarm Scout probe entered the outer edge of our solar system. It was small, roughly the size of your standard exploration vessel, but it began the same consumption pattern we're seeing now. It started with the asteroid belt. The display showed long-range sensor data that was clearly beyond anything Earth should have possessed 17 years ago. The readings tracked an impossible entity as it devoured matter, energy, and even space-time itself, leaving gaps in reality where celestial bodies had once existed. Dr. Zenth of the Academic Collective, whose species prided itself on scientific knowledge, studied the data with growing amazement. These readings are impossible. You're showing quantum-level analysis of void space interaction, temporal displacement measurements, dimensional frequency mapping. Your species didn't have this technology 17 years ago. You barely had interplanetary flight. Chun nodded acknowledgement. You're correct. We didn't have that technology. We developed it. In 17 days, a sound like breaking crystal came from Luminara as the energy being's containment field fluctuated. 17 days? Species typically require centuries to develop void space. Analysis capabilities. Typically, yes, Chun agreed. But humans have a saying. Necessity is the mother of invention. When we realized what we faced, we had a choice. Evolve or die. We chose to evolve. She touched the device again, and the display changed to show Earth's response to the crisis. The images were staggering. Massive construction projects appearing overnight, technologies being assembled from theoretical frameworks, entire research. Facilities materializing as if from nowhere. But most shocking was the speed of human adaptation. We studied the entity for 3 days, Chun continued. On day 4, we had preliminary countermeasures. By day 7, we had working prototypes. By day 14, we had a fully operational defense grid. On day 17, we made contact. Contact? Vextar's voice cracked slightly. You communicated with a void swarm entity. We negotiated with it, Chun corrected. The entity was confused by our response. Most species it encounters either flee or attack with conventional weapons. We did neither. Instead, we offered it something it had never encountered before. The chamber hung on her words. Admiral Korth leaned forward. What could a species like yours offer an entity that consumes realities? Sarah Chun smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a pleasant expression, a challenge. The display now showed the conclusion of Earth's first encounter with the void swarm. The scout entity, after consuming nearly half of the asteroid belt, suddenly stopped. Then, in a display that defied physics, it began reconstructing everything it had devoured. Asteroids reformed, space-time healed, and reality returned to normal. The entity then departed, leaving behind only a message encoded in gravitational waves. Dr. Zenth's multiple eyes widened as she read the translation. It says, interesting. We will return when you are ready. Asterisk. Chan nodded. The entity was a scout, yes, but not in the way you understand. It wasn't looking for resources to consume. It was looking for species capable of growth, of adaptation, of becoming something more than they were. Most civilizations fail the test. They rely on ancient technologies, established methods, traditional thinking. They cannot evolve quickly enough to present a true challenge. And humans can? Dizes asked, her aquatic features showing skepticism. Humans must, Chun replied simply. It's what we do. We adapt, we overcome, we survive. When faced with extinction, we don't just fight harder, we fight smarter. We become something new. Vextar's claws scraped against his throne's armrests. This is all very impressive, but what does it matter now? The current swarm isn't a single scout. It's a full force, consuming systems across multiple sectors. Even if your story is true, one small victory doesn't qualify you to lead a galactic defense. You're right, Chun agreed. One victory doesn't. But 17 years of preparation does. She gestured, and the chamber's display changed again. This time, it showed something that made even the most powerful delegates step back in. Shock. Hidden throughout human space, concealed by technologies that made them invisible to galactic sensors, was a vast network of facilities, weapons, and spacecraft. The scale was staggering, the technology beyond anything in the Confederations. Databases. For 17 years, Chun said quietly, humanity has been preparing for the swarm's return. We knew they would come back, and we knew they would bring friends. We also knew that when they did, the galaxy would be unprepared. So we prepared for everyone. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Every delegate stared at the displays showing Earth's hidden arsenal. Technologies that seemed to bend reality. Weapons that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Defensive systems that appeared to be built from solidified mathematics. Admiral Korth was the first to find his voice. This is impossible. Our sensors would have detected construction on this scale. Energy expenditures alone would have been visible from across the galaxy. Only if you knew what to look for, Shun replied. And only if we wanted you to see it. We learned from the scout entity that perception is reality. If no one perceives something exists, does it truly exist? We've spent 17 years answering that question. Dr. Zenth's scientific mind struggled with the implications. You're describing technologies that shouldn't be possible for any species, let alone one as young as yours. Conservation of energy, thermodynamic limits, the fundamental constants of physics are guidelines, not absolutes, Chun finished. The Void Swarm taught us that. They exist partially outside our reality's rules. To fight them effectively, we had to learn to do the same. High Chancellor Vextar rose from his throne, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. Even if this is all true, why reveal it now? Why not deploy these weapons immediately? Sarah Chun's expression grew serious. Because the swarm entities we're facing now aren't scouts, they're hunters. They're specifically looking for species that showed promise, that displayed unusual capabilities. They're coming for us, and they're using the attacks on other systems as bait. Bait? Luminara's energy field flickered with confusion. To draw us out, Chun explained. To force us to reveal our capabilities in defense of others. The swarm feeds on potential as much as matter. They consume not just what civilizations are, but what they could become. We've hidden our development precisely to avoid becoming their primary target before we were ready. And now? Asked Isis. Chun looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and sensors of every delegate present. Now we're ready. But we're not. Going to face them alone? The galaxy has spent millions of years developing incredible technologies, vast knowledge, and diverse perspectives. We need all of that. What we're offering isn't to replace your contributions, but to coordinate them. To give you the tools and strategies to use your own strengths effectively against an enemy that seems impossible to fight. The display changed one final time, showing not Earth's weapons, but a comprehensive analysis of every Confederation member's capabilities, integrated into a unified defense strategy that turned each civilization's unique strengths into components of a greater whole. This is our proposal, Chun concluded. Not human leadership of galactic defense, but human coordination of galactic potential. We've learned how to fight the Void Swarm, but we've also learned that the real victory isn't in destroying them. It's in becoming something they can't consume. Something that grows stronger through challenge, rather than weaker through conflict. The chamber remained silent for long moments as delegates processed what they had heard and seen. Finally, Admiral Korth spoke, his mechanical voice carrying a new tone of respect. "What do you need from us?" Sarah Chun smiled again, but this time the expression was warm, hopeful. "Trust us, and prepare to see what the galaxy can become when it stops thinking like separate civilizations and starts thinking like one species." The human species learned long ago that our greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to make others believe they can be stronger than they ever imagined. As the emergency session moved into planning phases, no one in the chamber doubted anymore that Earth had been hiding its true capabilities. What they were beginning to understand was that humanity's greatest secret wasn't their technology at all. It was their absolute faith that any challenge could be overcome, any enemy defeated, any impossible situation turned into an opportunity for growth. The Void Swarm had made a critical error in their assessment of human potential. They had seen it as a resource to be consumed. They were about to learn it was a force of nature that consumed everything else and turned it into something better. Asterisk, the hidden arsenal revealed. Demonstration 3 days after the emergency session, the representatives of the Stellar Confederation found themselves in the neutral zone, a region of space traditionally used for diplomatic meetings and military demonstrations. What they saw there challenged everything they thought they knew about physics, warfare, and the true nature of reality itself. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the UNS Prometheus, a vessel that hadn't existed in any database 48 hours earlier. Around him, his crew moved with the efficient precision of soldiers who had trained for a war the rest of the galaxy didn't know was coming. The ship itself was a masterpiece of impossibility, its hull seeming to shift between dimensions while its interior remained stable and comfortable. "All Confederation vessels are in position," reported Lieutenant Commander Park from the communications station. "They're maintaining safe distance as requested." Reed nodded, studying the massive view screen that showed the assembled fleet. Representatives from dozens of civilizations had brought their most advanced warships to witness Earth's demonstration. The Zephyrian Empire's star destroyers floated like metal mountains in space. The Hegemony's battle cruisers bristled with enough firepower to crack planets. The Academic Collective's research vessels hummed with sensors capable of analyzing matter at the quantum level. All told, it was the largest gathering of military power in galactic history, and they were all here to see what humanity had built in secret. "Dr. Vasquez, are your teams ready?" Reed asked, turning to a woman whose calm demeanor belied the revolutionary nature of her work. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her tablet, where streams of data flowed in patterns that seemed to move through more than 3 dimensions. "Project Prometheus is fully operational, Captain. All systems are showing green across 17-dimensional matrices. Reality anchors are stable, and the quantum manipulation drives are synchronized with local spacetime." Reed activated the ship's communication system, addressing not just his crew, but every vessel in the demonstration zone. This is Captain Reed of the United Nations ship Prometheus. We're about to begin the demonstration. What you're going to see may challenge your understanding of physics, but I assure you, everything is under control. On the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship Emperor's Will, High Chancellor Vexstar watched the proceedings with growing unease. The human ship looked small compared to his massive dreadnought, but there was something about it that made his sensors uncomfortable. "Analysis report," he commanded. His chief science officer, a being whose forearms moved constantly as he operated multiple control interfaces, hesitated before responding. "Chancellor, we're getting impossible readings. The ship registers as being there and not there simultaneously. Our mass detectors show it weighs both nothing and approximately 10 billion tons. Its energy signature suggests it's either completely powered down or generating enough power to fuel a small star." "That's not possible," Vexstar growled. "Sir, our sensors are state-of-the-art. They don't malfunction, but they also don't lie. That ship exists in a state our physics cannot explain." Aboard Admiral Korth's command vessel, similar conversations were taking place. The hegemony's military scientists prided themselves on understanding any technology they encountered, but the human ship defied classification. Its weapons weren't visible, its defenses couldn't be measured, and its propulsion system didn't seem to exist at all. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "we're detecting dimensional fluctuations around the human vessel. It's as if reality is being actively rewritten in a localized area." Korth studied the readings on his tactical display. Decades of military experience told him he was looking at something that could reshape the nature of warfare itself. "What's the crew complement?" "Unknown, sir. Our scans suggest anywhere from 12 to 12,000 personnel, depending on which layer of reality." "We're reading." Captain Reed's voice came over the communication channels again. "We're going to begin with a basic demonstration of human defensive capabilities. Please observe the target zone." A section of space approximately 1 light second away, suddenly filled with objects. Not ships or weapons, but perfect replicas of void swarm entities, created from sensor data and quantum manipulation technologies. The artificial entities moved with the same reality-consuming behavior as the real thing, beginning to devour the matter and energy in their vicinity. The assembled fleet's instruments went wild. Every sensor array capable of detecting the void. Swarm's unique signatures confirmed that these weren't simulations or holograms. They were genuine void swarm entities, somehow created and controlled by human technology. "How is this possible?" Dr. Zenth whispered from her observation vessel. Her species had studied the void swarm for centuries without understanding their fundamental nature, yet the humans had apparently learned to create them at will. Reed's voice remained calm and professional. "What you're seeing are synthetic void swarm entities, generated using techniques we developed during our first encounter. They possess all the properties of the genuine entities, including their reality consumption abilities. They will be used to demonstrate human defensive systems." The artificial entities continued their expansion, consuming space itself and leaving gaps in reality where they passed. Several of the Confederation ships began moving to safer distances, their crews understandably nervous about being near anything that could erase them from existence. Initiating defensive protocol Omega-7, Reed announced that the Prometheus didn't fire any visible weapons. Instead, space around the void swarm entities began to change. Reality itself seemed to solidify, becoming more real, more substantial. The entity's consumption effect slowed, then stopped, then reversed. The gaps they had torn in space-time began healing, matter and energy reforming as if the damage had never occurred. But that wasn't the most shocking part. As the artificial entities found their abilities neutralized, they began to change. The dark, reality-consuming masses started glowing with warm light. Their chaotic, Destructive movement patterns became ordered and purposeful. Within minutes, the synthetic void swarm entities had transformed into something entirely different. What did you do to them? Admiral Korth demanded over the communication channel. Dr. Vasquez answered, her voice carrying across space to every ship in the demonstration. Zone, we didn't destroy them. We evolved them. Void swarm entities aren't evil. They're incomplete. They consume reality because they're trying to find something that makes them whole. We've learned to provide that completion artificially. They, transformed entities, now radiating coherent energy instead of consuming it, began working together to repair the damage they had caused. Space-time knitted itself back together under their influence, becoming stronger and more stable than it had been before. High Chancellor Vextar stared at the display, his reptilian features showing an expression his species rarely revealed. Wonder. They turned the swarm entities into ... healers? In a manner of speaking, came Ambassador Chun's voice over the channel. She had remained aboard the Prometheus to observe the demonstration directly. We learned that the void swarms. Destructive behavior is actually a form of incomplete creation. They're trying to build something, but they don't know what. When we provide them with a template, a goal, they become the most powerful creative force in the universe. The tactical implications hit every military mind in the fleet simultaneously. If humans could not only defend against the void swarm, but actually convert them into allies, the entire nature of the threat changed. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about transformation. That concludes the defensive demonstration, Captain Reed announced. We'll now proceed to offensive capabilities. The transformed entities moved aside, clearing a space for a next phase of the demonstration. This time, the Prometheus did something that made every physicist in the assembled fleet question their understanding of reality. The ship created a perfect replica of a Confederation battlecruiser, complete down to the molecular level. Target vessel is an exact duplicate of the hegemony's Iron Resolve, Dr. Vasquez explained. Same armor, same shields, same defensive. Capabilities. We'll demonstrate human offensive systems against this target. Admiral Korth looked at his own Iron Resolve, then at the perfect copy floating in space. How did you scan my ship in such detail? Our hulls are designed to prevent that level of analysis. We didn't scan it, Reed replied. We remembered it. Human consciousness has certain properties that allow us to interact with quantum information in unique ways. We've learned to use those properties to reconstruct anything we've observed, even if that observation was incomplete or indirect. The implications of that statement sent waves of shock through the assembled fleet. If humans could perfectly recreate any technology they encountered, the balance of galactic power had just shifted in ways no one had anticipated. The Prometheus turned toward the duplicate battlecruiser. Again, no visible weapons fired. Instead, the duplicate ship simply began to change. Its hull restructured itself, its systems reorganized, its entire design shifted from a weapon of war into something entirely different. Within moments, what had been a military vessel became a massive research facility. Its weapons transformed into scientific instruments, its armor converted into sensor arrays. Conversion rather than destruction, Dr. Vasquez explained. Human philosophy has always emphasized rehabilitation over punishment, creation over destruction. Our weapons don't eliminate threats. They transform them into solutions. The converted battlecruiser began broadcasting scientific data, sharing discoveries, and offering to assist with research projects. Every ship in the fleet received invitations to collaborative studies, offers of technological exchange, and proposals for joint exploration missions. Dr. Zenth's voice came over the communication channel, filled with scientific excitement. The converted vessel is offering to share theoretical frameworks we've been working on for decades. It claims to have solutions to problems we haven't even finished formulating. That's because it does, Ambassador Chan explained. When we convert enemy assets, we don't just change their physical structure. We integrate them into human information networks. They gain access to everything we know, everything we've learned, everything we've imagined. In return, they contribute their own knowledge and capabilities to our collective understanding. High Chancellor Vextar found his voice, though it carried a tremor he'd never shown before. You're describing the assimilation of entire civilizations. No, Chun corrected gently. We're describing the invitation to join something larger than any single civilization. The choice is always voluntary. The converted entities retain their identity, their values, their independence. They simply gain access to a broader perspective and greater capabilities. Captain Reed activated the final phase of the demonstration. We'll now show you the true scale of human preparation for the Void Swarm's return. Space around the demonstration zone began to change. Ships appeared, not just dozens or hundreds, but thousands. Vessels of every size and configuration, from small scouts to massive city ships, materialized from dimensional folds that had hidden them from all sensors. But these weren't all human ships. Many bore the design characteristics of other Confederation species, though altered and enhanced in ways that made them clearly more advanced than their original specifications. The Hidden Fleet, Reed announced. Built over 17 years using resources donated by every inhabited system in human space, and several uninhabited ones we've been developing in secret. But more importantly, built with the willing cooperation of representatives from dozens of species who have been working with us since our first encounter with the Void Swarm. Admiral Korth stared at the display showing ship identifications. Many of the vessels carried names from his own hegemony, ships that had supposedly been lost in deep space exploration or destroyed in ancient conflicts. Those are our ships. Vessels we believed were gone forever. Ships we rescued, Sean corrected. Crews we saved, technologies we preserved. For 17 years, we've been quietly making contact with lost expeditions, stranded colonies, and isolated settlements throughout the galaxy. We've offered them the choice to join our preparation efforts or to return to their home civilizations. Many chose to help us build the defenses the galaxy would need. The scale of the revelation was staggering. Hundreds of species that the Confederation believed were extinct or missing had been working with humanity for decades. Technologies thought lost forever had been preserved and improved. Resources assumed depleted had been carefully managed and expanded. Dr. Zent's scientific mind struggled to process the implications. You've been running a secret civilization for 17 years, a shadow society that spans the entire galaxy. We've been preparing, Reed said simply. Preparing for a war the galaxy couldn't imagine, using methods the galaxy couldn't accept, with allies the galaxy thought were gone forever. We've been becoming something new, something capable of not just surviving the Void Swarm, but transforming them into partners in creation rather than engines of destruction. The assembled fleet hung in space, delegates and commanders, trying to comprehend what they had witnessed. The humans hadn't just hidden their true capabilities. They had fundamentally altered the nature of galactic civilization without anyone realizing it was happening. High Chancellor Vextar's voice carried a new tone of respect when he spoke. What happens now? Ambassador Chan's answer carried the weight of 17 years of preparation and the hope of countless civilizations. Now we stop pretending we're separate species competing for resources in a hostile universe. Now we become what humanity has always believed we could be. One people, working together, turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth. The Void Swarm is coming, but they're not coming to destroy us. They're coming to see what we've become. And when they arrive, They're going to find something they've never encountered before. A galaxy that's learned to create faster than they can consume, to grow stronger through cooperation than any species could become alone. The demonstration ended, but its effects would reshape galactic civilization forever. The Confederation had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their absolute refusal to accept that any problem was unsolvable, any enemy undefeatable, or any dream impossible to achieve. The Void Swarm had taught them that survival required evolution. What they had learned to evolve into was something the universe had never seen before, a force of creation that grew stronger with every challenge it faced. As the fleets prepared to return to their home systems and begin preparing for the coordinated defense of the galaxy, one fact was clear to everyone present. The galaxy wasn't ready for the full strength of humanity, not because humans were powerful, but because their true strength lay in making everyone around them more powerful than they ever imagined they could be. The real shock wasn't what humanity could do alone, but what they could help the entire galaxy become together. Asterisk, asterisk,